Hi, everyone. How's everybody's AWE going? I hope well. Good. I first just wanted to say, boy, it's been a great last 24 hours and 48 hours. Such good people that I've met. And I've learned a lot here with Elad. So I want to share a little something. In 2016, Bono discovered he had what he calls an eccentric heart. I don't know if you know this. A condition that could have killed him faster than he could have made an emergency phone call. I didn't know that, but let it sink in for a second. But as someone here in immersive entertainment, that's not why I invited this conversation. My interest is in the fact that he transformed his most vulnerable moment into his most authentic storytelling. First through his memoir, Surrender, then through a groundbreaking one-man theatrical experience, if you didn't know that. Then came the documentary, and in parallel came Bono into our realm, creating Apple's first feature-length immersive film. Let's just give a round of applause for that. So why am I telling you this? Because everyone in this room and everybody outside, we're all wrestling with the same challenge right now. How do we create experiences that don't just wow people with technology, but actually transform them? How do we move beyond impressive demos like we've seen so many here to meaningful human connection? Bono's story of Surrender, Immersive, proves that the most powerful experiences aren't built on pixels or processors. They're actually built on truth, on vulnerability, on the courage to let technology serve the story, but definitely not dominate it. True. We all know this. I know, right? That's me. I'm Kathleen Cohen. I'm the jury chair for the Aurea Awards, and the Aurea Awards is an annual XR award show held at Europa Park, Germany's largest themed attraction. I'm also a member of the Television Academy, and most importantly, I'm the founder of the Collaboratorium for AI, XR research, production, and strategy. This is Elad.
Hi.
My very uniquely talented friend, creative and director, who just got back from Cannes like a minute ago, where this documentary actually debuted. And at my insistence, thanks for that, Elad's here to come to share with us a little bit behind the scenes of this extraordinary project. I've never been more convinced of what's possible with XR and how real transformation happens when cutting-edge technology meets collaboration and the raw human truth. So please join me in welcoming Elad to his first AWE.
Thank you. As you said, my name is Elad. I'm a creative working for quite a while in sort of the cutting edge of technology and storytelling. Honestly, a little less in the immersive parts. I come from a long background of visual effects, doing music videos, commercials, TV shows. I've sold a lot of cars, a lot of shoes, I hope, and otherwise I wasted a lot of years. I've done features, I've done TV shows, and some immersive work. This is the first immersive piece that actually made it out and didn't just kind of disappear in the process. For this project, I was the creative director of the immersive version. There's a beautiful piece of work done directed directed by Andrew Dominic. I'll stop here for a second. I do stutter, so please bear with me. If I stop, I will continue. Once you start, it's hard to stop. So directed by Andrew Dominic, beautifully shot by Eric Messerschmidt, and they were working on that, and I was handed sort of the part of making an immersive version of it, and the last few weeks have really been insane because I'm generally more the behind the scenes guy, kind of working with other creatives and kind of doing things, and then there's been a lot of attention on me. So thank you for welcoming me to my first AWE.
I know, it's so great to have you here and just to see it through your eyes. I'm like, how have you not been here before? But what we were talking about is what's the cross-section? why am I so interested in Elad and why is Elad so interested in this space? And for the last 10 years, I've been talking about a tribrid design, which is in real life, on a screen, and in world, all in parallel. And we talked about it at our talk yesterday with the Dream Machine. But it's so important now that I've seen your work, which feels like the Surrender brand of what you've had to deal with. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been referring to it as sort of a sister version to the cinema version, not a twin. So it's similar in many parts. And in fact, as we were going through it, there are moments where we chose to just let you watch the cinema version for a moment so you can kind of relax. It is an 86-minute long piece. And it's the very first one. But maybe since I keep talking about the cinema version, after I just say something about the fact that I think it's all storytelling from my perspective. You know, I've been in all these different parts. Every time we see a new technology, for me, it's like, okay, how can we tell a better story with it? How can we bring the viewer into this world? How can we create emotions? For me, that's always the key. As a filmmaker, storytelling artist, whatever you want to call it, technician, sometimes, does the viewer walk away with the emotion that I wanted to bring, the emotion that the artist, the different artists that are involved wanted to bring? But maybe we should watch the trailer to the cinema version.
Yeah, if you want to share a little bit here first, about this reception.
Sure. It's my first time at the Cannes Film Festival. It was insane. I was there last week for the Cannes Lion. It was been crazy 2 years. Last year, Cannes Lion, me and my team won a Dan Wyden Titanium Grand Prix. They really need to shorten that. For my work on the DoorDash Super Bowl spot, which I did in sort of a little break that happened during Surrender. And then this year was at the Cannes Film Festival, which is a very different level of fancy. The Cannes Lion is bigger, but the film festival is really something else in terms of like, oh, that person, that person, that person.
All right, so let's watch it.
These are the tall tales of a short rock star. I wanna run. I wanna Hola. Welcome to my Quarterman show. I wanna tear down the walls that hold me inside. Something to know about performers. In pursuit of truth, we are capable of more untruth than most. Show business. Show business. Turns out the most extraordinary thing about my life is the people I'm in relationships with. I met my wife, Ali, same week I joined you too. Where the streets were not Last time I saw my mother alive was at her own father's funeral. This sounds almost too Irish, I know. My father's response to this tragedy was to never speak of her again. I craved my father's attention, so I sang louder and louder. It's a beautiful day. We'll never get away. Beautiful day. Yeah. I was born with my fists up. Surrender does not come easy to me. This is my story. I'm stuck with it. You don't need it now. I'm going to have a very strong drink. You don't have to laugh, actually.
I'm going to have a very strong drink after this, too. Please join me. You might have noticed at some point I turned away. I have seen this footage so many times. I had to know this documentary inside and out in order to make the immersive version, but also as it was changing constantly, really figure out the vibe of all the parts. So even as the two sort of sisters were drifting apart and coming back together, we could keep to the sort of true emotions behind all of it. And it really is quite a journey because, it's basically Bono was born, and then he did a lot of amazing things. And then he had open heart surgery and decided to make that into a book, which then he made it into a show. And then basically we needed to make this into a documentary, an immersive documentary, with really the goal to do something that's long and captures all of that. And it's...
Well, that was my question, is did you lose anything in all of these iterations? I mean, this is so many different expressions.
I think that's sort of the basis of all art. You need to edit, you need to cut, you always start with this, like, I'll do everything. And then there's production limitations, there's real world limitations. I think limitations make for better art. But generally speaking, I can say that Bono called it the immersive version, something that captured the giddiness of his book and his show. And that was a great compliment, because being able to do what he was after was really the goal for all of it.
So what are we seeing here?
We're seeing Bono being Bono with the Edge on the red carpet in Cannes, right before the premiere. Their friendship is what I told him is like the thing that I envy them the most from all his life. Is like they met when they were 16, and they still work together. They're still close. They don't hate each other.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So this, as I understand, was the standing ovation, right? This was the cinema version, right?
Yes. It was very long. You can see, obviously, Bono and Ali, his wife, and John Kamen. He's right next to Bono right now. John Kamen produced, he's a CEO of Radical Media, and he produced the movie. Somewhere, if you really look very far back, is me and my wife, but maybe behind a little bit. So yeah, that was that. And then I got to be part of the press junket for the immersive version, which was really quite an experience that left a lot of people speechless. Professional journalists were left speechless, which was really nice in terms of like, it felt great to have done something that was groundbreaking that they had no frame of reference to talk about. But also I was like, I really need you to find the words because I want people to want to see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, this was one of the questions that we were talking about. Like, what makes you so uniquely positioned right now in doing this project from where it started to where you are? Just talk a little bit, because this is a big list of heavy hitters here.
Yeah, I have a very sort of, I think for most places I could say it was an odd history. I think with this crowd it's probably quite common. I started from software engineering. Honestly, I found computers when I was 7, and I was like, this is it, I love this. And then I started to want to make some art with it as I grew older and got a little tired of software engineering. And then I got lucky enough to work in visual effects with a lot of really amazing directors. Then I got to own my own company, a visual effects company in the arts, and both direct my own things and still work with a lot of amazing directors. So all of this stuff gave me a journey of growth that I could never have done anything like this when I was in my 20s or even early 30s. I had too much ego. I thought I knew everything. And especially like coming from engineering, it's like, no, this is how you do it. and I had to learn to sort of check that at the door and just pay attention to really amazing directors that I got to work with.
Well, maybe you can go through and share a little bit about each, because when I look at this in my professional career, I'm like 5 key stakeholders, high profile, good Lord. Okay, how's this going to go? But just share a little bit about each one.
Well, obviously Bono is Bono. Like, just like the very first call I got was, can you be in Dublin tomorrow? And I didn't even actually get to do that because it was too quick and whatever. But Bono, everybody drops anything. Anybody at my age, at least, he drops anything and does whatever it is Bono wants. Apple TV Plus, obviously, an amazing thing that I think Apple has been able to do with all the risks to their name and brand and whatever, to create a creative outlet that's both interesting and does all this stuff, is like, that's a lot of weight. And the executive team over there were really supportive and really amazing. So it was really great to kind of work with them. Radical Media, as I said, John Kamen, and there was a whole other group of people there, all of them super supportive, all of them willing to take chances. We were sort of the previous conversation, they were talking about not having a rule book. So we got a lot of rules from the VR community, but there was also lots of stuff where we didn't have rule books, and they were willing to try things. Same for the production team at Plan B. And of course, my team, I was at the time working for a company called The Artery, a company from New York. All of them also very willing to just go with me where I wanted to go. And I'm sure they thought I'm insane quite often, but went with me because I was like, trust me, we'll get there.
So I know I'm asking, was Surrender your first immersive project? Because I know your repertoire, but share a little bit here.
I, like I said, did some immersive stuff before, but never really made it out to the public. So in a way, this is my first true immersive thing. It's also the very first full feature-length immersive project, period. So there was a bit of like, and also building as we go. But this is just some of my history from the aughts, the music video part of it. I got to work with Outkast. My one award that I really care about is my Moon Man for Heya. I got to work with Justin Timberlake and with Mary J. Blige and Eminem. But even more importantly, with these amazing directors, Brian Barber and Dave Meyers and Francis Lawrence and Wayne Isham and all these people that really, I could sit there on their set and see how they do stuff and learn from them.
Yeah. So my guess here is that you collaborated most with folks more closely. And maybe you can share a little bit about those people that really were in your day in and day out.
I mentioned him a few times already, but John Kamen was really amazing. For people who don't know the difference, when you do a movie, producers have all the power. I've seen music video directors come into a movie, it's like, my movie, and then turns out it isn't. It's a producer's movie. And so John Kamen being as supportive as he was for somebody that I didn't mention earlier, but I started this process as the visual effects supervisor on a much smaller immersive piece and sort of grew as the process continued. So John giving me that support was really out of control. Jackknife Lee, who produced all the music for the Broadway show, did all the music if you went to the Sphere to see the U2 show, so outside in the halls, Jackknife Lee did that. He's working with them right now. He gave me an hour of his time, unsolicited, I asked him for it, but he was happy to do it, and was able to give me a lot of the inside journey that they had already done trying to put together the Broadway show. That was a huge leap. Without him doing that, I'm pretty sure things would have fallen apart early, because I needed that input in order to have a handle to start climbing this very big hill. Then again, the Apple TV executive team, all of them were really amazing, really supportive, really willing to try things, really willing to try things in the Vision Pro, not just like, oh, show it to me on a laptop or in a QuickTime, but really like, okay, we know that we need to get in the Vision Pro. So they were really amazing. And then just the Apple team overall, all the technical people at Apple who were willing to go with us on this journey, and we kept pushing them, they kept pushing us. There were lots of things at first where they're like, no, we just don't know how to do that, but let us try out and maybe come back to you in a little bit. Especially, I think, since we were, I'll talk about it in a little, but we came in asking them, like, what do we need to know about this device that you've been working in for a moment, rather than like, we know it all, we've done immersive, like, here it is, you deal with it. And I think that opened the door for collaboration where we would not have ended up with a full feature-length thing if we didn't do that.
Tell us, how does one even start a production like this? What do you do?
So that's my number one rule, is be dumb. It's easy for me because I am pretty dumb. So I just try and not bring my ego into it is really the thing. So sort of kind of clear the slate and listen to the people involved who are trying to make this project and what it is that they want to do. Talk to the artist, in this case Bono, or his team and everybody around him and figure out what were the emotions that he was after. In this case, it was relatively easy for me as a a little bit of an older person now to feel his whole journey with his father, his whole experience is very unique. Bono is Bono, but there's so many things that are connected to all humans that I think we could all vibe with. Then just a lot more listening. Even when you think you're done, for me, it's like, okay, let's listen some more. Let's talk to all the other people, the technical people, every little bit of it. And then I guess this is sort of my version of surrender, right? Is like leave the ego at the door and just kind of collect all this very valuable stuff, especially the emotional stuff. They say that the golden rule is that to treat others as you would want to be treated. And I think the platinum rule, and this is a quote I got from Kathleen, but I love it. The platinum rule is when you treat others as they would like to be treated. And I think that's key when you walk into a project like this. And then you start to explore further. Then I start to bring my stuff, my background, all the things that I'm interested in, the things that I love.
So what were some of the key elements that went into exploration?
Well, there's some of my history. So you'll see very old videos that I sort of creative directed. And you can see the exploration of moving things in Z space. I come from a background as a compositor on something called flame. Flame compositions are all done in 2.5D. So it's very normal for me to think in space. And then you take Bono's art, which is amazing things that he's drawn in his book, and other pieces of art he's done. That's his mom, which was a very delicate part of the listening thing. Is like, I was very concerned about trying to make a spatial version of his mom that respects I've never met his mom, obviously. He's really never met his mom. He has a vision in his head of what she is, what she communicates when you see her. So finding the right version of that, I was honestly quite scared of. And then other artists. So my sister happened to get me a Lipschitz statue. I should have taken a picture of it. It's in my office. And he does wire sort of statues. They're quite small. But then there's other artists who work in this format. And then I've watched a lot of stuff like in Blender. We used a lot of grease pencil in this project just on my LinkedIn, seeing other artists. And of course, Willie Williams. Willie Williams has been the creative director behind every U2 thing pretty much ever. He did the live show, and it was clear that we had to sort of tie to that in some ways, at least respect it in many ways. I couldn't be like, no, this is an Elad Offer show. Fuck Willie. Sorry for my language. But Willie Williams is incredible. And then you take a lot of artists. These are just the artists at the Artery, but there were a ton more in other vendors and other companies. You kind of mix it all together with a whole lot of tools.
So, yeah, this is what we were talking about. Being the first feature-length immersive film for AVP, the tech and the pipeline didn't exist. So how do you go from getting the job and now all of a sudden delivering 86 high-quality immersive minutes?
Well, there was a lot of testing, honestly. Like you see, the very top corner is Flame, which we started earlier and to kind of prove that we can do it at all at the Artery. And then actually moved away from that to other tools, mostly Nuke was where we ended up in the end. But there was slowly building as we go along, working back and forth with the Apple team, figuring out how to do simple stuff. It seems simple to any filmmaker. Like you can zoom you can just, in post, just cut in. You can't do that in immersive. It breaks it. Things become flat. So all of these things we needed to build color space, figuring out how to get things to look right in the Vision Pro, which is highly precise color space, also incredible blacks. And the movie, as you probably saw in the trailer, actually has elevated black levels. So how do we deal with that? There's a lot of back and forth with the Apple team on kind of how to do that. Right now, they've made it easier for most people. So there's a version of Resolve that incorporates a lot of that work. Honestly, mostly done on their end, but still kind of going back and forth with us. There's the Blackmagic cameras now that is supposed to be released any minute, I guess, that allow you to film. We use these special cameras from the Apple team that were kind of being built as we worked with them. And then even though the Artery is a very capable place, it's not a large company. And we had to be very buttoned down. So there's somewhere in there, there's Flow, Autodesk Flow, which is a project management tool. Project management is super important. Building a pipeline is super important. Being organized about it. Doesn't matter how great you are. If you're not organized, it will fall apart on a project this big.
I'm so organized, we're moving forward.
Yes.
So let's talk just a little bit. It's too fast. It's too tight of a timeline. But go. It's beautiful.
Okay. Thanks. Well, I mean, these flat representations don't really convey what it is. You have to watch it in the Vision Pro to understand these things are all layered in space. You're embedded in this case for Pride in Wimbledon. So we drew all this, by the way, all by hand. Anytime an artist tried to have keyframes and things, they hated me because no, you got to redraw it for every frame because this is punk, this is Bono, this is human. And the platform itself can tend to be very digital. So it was like, we have to fight that. We have to make sure that everything feels human and connects to Bono and U2 and all that history. Yeah. Here is a much more quiet moment where we this is actually around the story of his mom dying and the aftermath in their house. And we had to really be more subtle. This isn't a very subtle frame, but generally we had to be a lot more subtle and make sure that we're not overwhelming him. Like, this is still him. This is still his story. He's an amazing storyteller. We wanted to make sure that you see it. This is Vertigo, which is the second 180-degree immersive piece in the movie. The movie goes in and out of these different immersive modes. And this was kind of the first big rock star moment in the movie, and wanted to give his words sort of this extra power. By the way, we used a lot of his art. So he would draw on an iPad. I keep forgetting the name of that software. And then give us some of that stuff. We tried to use as much of it as we can. That wasn't always the case, but certainly inspired by all of it. But many times it's his actual stuff, including, by the way, in the end credits, a lot of the names were written by Bono. And then what was nice is that because this is becoming a mature technology, we weren't asked once to make a showcase for the device. We were asked to make a piece of art that respects Bono's project, that respects his art, that conveys what he was trying to convey. And we were allowed, therefore, to be doing less, right? I mean, a lot of the stuff that I think we see normally is like more, just so we can kind of see all the technology and all the cameras and what this thing can do, and it can fly and whatever. But this was really just, can we create emotions?
I just know that this is the ultimate validation, getting quotes from Bono. So maybe you can just tell me, how did you receive that?
I mean, first, honestly, he made me cry in front of Bono, which is not that cool.
And how it really affected you.
Well, yeah. So what's nice is that I was able, from his quote, I was able to bring what he wanted to this project, which is just kind of amazing when you work with an artist like that. And then just feeling like you get to do something new you don't get to do that very often as an artist. By the way, I will always fight, like, internally, every time I say artist, there's an internal struggle, because I'm many things, but in this case, I could stand up and say, I did that, and so that's why they're crying.
Like, such a round of applause, because we hope you come back for what you achieved, and so let everybody know that you can reach Elad.
That'd be great.